So right now, we're seeing an assault on our juries, on the right to protest, and on democracy itself. We're talking about escalation as the state is escalating against us. But nothing happens in a vacuum. 15 years ago, over a series of trials, 15 of my friends and I were lined up in Winchester Crown Court and sentenced to a total of 80 years in prison for coordinating a campaign called Stop Hunting and Animal Cruelty, or SHAC. A campaign that we argued and continue to argue was lawful. Our aim was to close Europe's largest animal testing laboratory, Huntingdon Life Sciences. And to do this, we devised a campaign strategy that was simple but effective. We identified the companies that Huntingdon Life Sciences relied on to operate, but that didn't need them. And we identified the individuals within those companies who had the power to see our change. But we were a lawful campaign. In fact, we were so good at being lawful that just as now, the government kept changing the laws. We were banned from protesting outside people's houses, so we stopped. We were banned from protesting inside their offices, so we stopped. We were banned from, and wait for this one, interfering with the contractual relationships of an animal research organisation so as to cause harm. That's an actual law. And so we took our campaign to Europe and across the world, where these absurd laws did not apply. But none of this mattered, because we were being effective. We were so effective that the industry and the government decided that we could no longer exist. They took control of the narrative, they took control of our narrative, and they wove it into a fiction about us that was so sinister, it convinced the animal-loving public that it was justifiable to drag teenagers and pensioners from their beds and sentence them to years in prison. To do this, they conflated our lawful activism with the actions, the unlawful actions of other aligned organisations. We found ourselves accused of every single action that had ever been taken against Huntingdon Life Sciences. But we cried out to the world that this was not what this was about. This was not about what we had done, or even what we're accused of having done. This was about what we were saying. The world back then ignored our cries. So please don't underestimate the power of this cross-movement unity we're seeing today. Honestly, it is everything, and it has the power to change the world. And for my friends and I, even if there hadn't been a single broken window, a single spray-painted slogan or punctured car tire, we would still have been rounded up and removed from society. The message being sent to us was never stop committing crime. It was simply shut the hell up. The message being sent right now to Just Stop Oil, Palestine Action, Animal Rising, and a myriad other organisations is not that they should adhere to the law. If that was the case, the laws wouldn't keep changing. Now, as back then, the message is simply stop talking and stop being effective. And the only response we can have to that is no. We have to speak louder. We have to scream until our lungs explode and we shake the very foundations of this unjustifiable system. We scream until everybody hears us. Because if we don't, we lose not just ourselves and the campaigns and the movements, we lose everything. Democracy is on the line, and with it we're all on the line. Our freedom, our lives, and the lives of every single person on this planet, human or otherwise. The suffragette campaigns involved arsons, bombings, assaults, and mass vandalisms. Yet the longest sentence handed out to a suffragette was 3 months. Whoa. Would they have been as effective if they had routinely faced multiple years in prison? They certainly face abhorrent violence and abuse. But how would we feel as a society if we knew we had crushed their campaign entirely through unjust trials followed by draconian prison sentences? How would history judge us if Emmeline Pankhurst had received 11 years in prison, like my friend Heather, who co-founded SHAC? I don't want to live in a society that legitimizes psychological and physical violence against the very best of us, while celebrating and rewarding the very worst. Until my dying breath, I will speak and I will fight for those who need my voice and my actions, and I stand with all of you in demanding that our society does everything it can to defend those who risk freedom and everything they have by defending society. Thank you, and thank you so much for